What's going on, Joe fans? Centex Collector here with another review for G.I. Joe Classified. This time for Wetsuit figure 179. Got this off of Amazon. And this and my sci-fi, Amazon just shoved it in one of those like plastic baggies and shipped it instead of a box. And this one actually ended up in my mailbox instead of on the front door. So that's interesting. Typical Joe insert with that piece of paper. Here he is in the package. Let's go ahead and crack them out. Here we go. Here is Wetsuit. Definitely very reminiscent of the OG version 1 from 86. But we'll get into that. We'll see how much this is reused from like Torpedo or the Eel, Divers. Yeah, it's pretty spot on to the original. And then for accessories, we've got the typical fins. I can't remember if Torpedo or the Eel came out first, but either way, these fins are reuse. From that, just easy repaints, reuse. And then we have this knife here. It's going to go in the left sheath here, left leg sheath. Then right leg holster. Got pistol here. Which he didn't have a pistol, but Torpedo had a knife. Looks like they actually used a different knife. And they changed up the similar, but it's different. They gave Wetsuit a different helmet. It was more like the original. And then the backpack looks just like the OG. They just gave it different. They dulled the color, changed the color, I guess maybe to dull it, and paint these sections black. He's got the two holes here like the original, like the handle here, but they did in black. Because you know, back then they had limit the colors for cost savings. Did black there. So it's nice they did little highlights there. He's got two. Not sure where they put two here. Oh, it ties into. It's interesting why they would do that, but why they would need a need for that to plug into. Well, it doesn't plug into it well, but ideally plug into the holes on the back of the vest, I guess. You had that, and then of course a removable helmet, which is cool. And then they'll plug into two holes back here. Which one am I missing? A hose or something? Anyway. So you got that. And then he's got, I don't have, but this like spotlight. OG had one too. This is like an upgrade from that. I have an accessory pack version, but I don't have the original. I'm missing that for the OG Wetsuit. And then they updated a little thing here. This little, I don't know what you want to call it, like a underwire device, but they did a big time redesign on that. changed the color, added some color, and totally reimagined it. So that's cool. And then if we just run through the original look here, looks like they made the new Classified one a little darker on the legs and chest. And then they did the black like boots. He had a knife. Of course, little stuff we never noticed back then. He had a knife there on his left leg, so they did that here. Gave him white stripes like the original. And then on the right leg, yep, he had a holstered pistol there. And they didn't give us too many pistols. A lot of times pistols were just so small that as kids we would lose them. And then he's got belt here with the circle, with the pouches on the belt. Just level of detail that they follow. And then they gave him like a wristband there. Oh, this holster's like falling. Oh. And then they gave him a watch, like the original on the left arm. I think they've reused that quite a few times already. And he's got the fish emblem on his chest. And then the vest, which this vest is actually removable. But yeah, they kept the coloring there of the vest with the black. They turned into pouches here. And then they gave him the stripes on the arm. Right arm had a little pouch there. Same with the left arm, the striping. Yeah, they just did a really good job. And of course, obviously this head didn't pop off, but I'm pretty sure in the cartoons and or comics, we saw him without the headgear on. So there's the face sculpts. I'm pretty sure they probably got some sort of reference from the cartoon or the comic. It seems like typically they do the cartoon. Those are easier to get references from. Probably also because Hasbro has, you would think they would have licensing for likenesses in the comics. Marvel comic did the comics, but Lenny and them tend to seem like they stick with the cartoons, the Sunbow and DIC cartoon. But that logo came out really well. Even back then in '86, they did a pretty good job putting the logo on there. So, and if we take a quick look here, looks like they actually use different parts. It's not just a repaint, because the knees look different. Yeah, it looks different. They just didn't repaint Torpedo or the divers. Maybe they used parts from somebody else, but yeah, actually looks pretty good for being, maybe they reused it from something else, but it looks pretty good as far as just not a repaint of, a reuse of Torpedo and Eel and divers, etc. But yeah, he was our resident Navy SEAL. And you usually see him a lot with Leatherneck and Gung Ho. Since Navy falls under the Marine Corps, they typically stuck them all together. And I think Shipwreck was a Navy SEAL like later on in characters, but early on they just had him as a sailor. But yeah, wetsuit's like one of those, I feel like he's one of those must-have, because he was a Navy SEAL. We didn't have any, he was the Navy SEAL of Joe's that I can recall until maybe later years with Shipwreck or somebody else. But yeah, I would say he's the must-have between him and Torpedo for your water operations for the G.I. Joe team. It's just, now we have all these water characters, but we don't have water vehicles. No devilfish, no water moccasin. I mean, devilfish, I feel they could probably be pretty easy win or do for Hasbro, but nothing yet. But there we go. Yeah, I'm digging wetsuit. I think he looks cool. I mean, some people, and you could even probably redo him. He also had Special Missions Brazil sub team, so they could do that. They could do, he wasn't in Night Force, but you could do a Night Force version. I don't think he wasn't Tiger Force, but I feel like you could at least modernize him besides this colorway, because, Torpedo kind of had this. I guess he's more of the darkened with the black colorway. But it's cool that he's completely different from Torpedo. But man, they need to give us some Mission Brazil. That'd be cool. Him and Leatherneck and Mainframe and Claymore and Dial Tone. So, but there we go. There's Wetsuit. I would recommend him. Cool figure. Like I say, he's our Liquid Navy SEAL. Like, comment, subscribe. JJ out.